Welcome to the Launch Family Podcast, where we make sense of modern parenting one real conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jessica Shelley, a mom of six and former educator, helping families cut through the chaos of parenting advice and build what works for their homes. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce to you Dollnita Winston. Dollnita is a veteran family life coach, parent educator, and founder of Family Life Enhancement. After 22 years as a dedicated social worker for the city of Richmond, she took a giant leap of faith, retiring early to focus full-time on supporting families and co-parents. Dollnita has taught over 1,000 parents through court-mandated programs, coached countless families, authored 2 books, and developed empowering frameworks like the ABCs of parenting. Dollnita brings heartfelt wisdom from her personal and professional experience, and today she's here to help us navigate what it really means to balance family, work, and parenting with purpose. Dollnita, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jessica. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Yes, well, let's dive in. Can you share a little bit more of your story of transition from social work into running your own family coaching business full time?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So again, as you've already indicated, I was a school social worker for 22 years, and my primary focus was students. And of course, all students have families, parents in particular, and I worked with them extensively depending on what students, were facing. A lot of times, I noticed that children were facing anxiety, high stress, both in school and in the home. And so that was what I did for that period of time. Towards the end of the pandemic, I realized that, perhaps it was time to make this foundational change or shift in my career and in my life. So I thought about what would it be like to run my own business. I had always kind of thought about it from time to time, but just sort of excused it and thought, well, that's for someone else. I had a couple of former co-workers who had ventured out into their own business. I had admired them from afar off and never really thought that I would be the one. So, yeah, so when I finally made that decision, it was really life-changing for me. And dealing with and working with and serving students, I finally came to the resolve that, perhaps I could be of more impact in the lives of parents. So that's really what shifted me into, or basically onto this side. And so I know everything I do now is pretty much with adults. Ever so often, I'll be asked to coach, especially teenagers. And so I welcome that opportunity. But what I call my jam is working with adults, working with parents and co-parents. Yes.
Yeah, and what originally drew you to supporting families and parents in that capacity, and then now, of course, that's carried over to your own business as well.
Yeah. So I remember um, as a high school senior, I had determined at that time that I really wanted to work with families. And I feel that my parents, especially my father, helped to instill the importance of family in me. Both my parents grew up with, a number of siblings. My mother, I think there were a sibling group of five. And then my father had there were nine in his family. So I always grew up with grandparents and aunts and uncles, and it was just cousins. It was awesome. And so I really feel that that's one of the main reasons why I really chose, to work with families. And so my initial thought was to be a marriage therapist. That was kind of like marriage and family therapist. I didn't really quite pursue that. I pursued as an undergrad, I pursued counseling. And then as a graduate student, of course, I, became an MSW and again, ultimately worked in the school system. And so, yeah, I have a wide variety of educational experiences, which I'm grateful for. And so, yeah, that has led me to where I am today as well.
Yeah, and then kind of tapping into, we're going to talk a little bit more about the pedagogy of what you do. So what are some of those biggest lessons that you've learned both as your time, like you're a mother yourself,
Yes.
and then you've also supported many families. So what are some of those big topics or transitions or areas of support that you've been able to kind of carry out in your practice through the years?
Yeah. So I really feel like I have focused a lot on just basically child development. I really think that that is so important as I work with parents. And so I start from stage one, the bonding and the attachment that hopefully we as parents have the opportunity to have with our babies. And I also really focus on what's going on with mom and dad even before the baby arrives. I feel that that is super important that hopefully, there's not a lot of stress and a lot of relationship issues because that definitely impacts mom, especially. So, child development, I really feel is important. And really helping, parents to understand that connection is everything. And it does start with, children as they are first born. And I share with parents that it is super duper easy. That's my little phrase there. It's super duper easy to establish connection when our children are young, very young. And as they get older, they're learning more things, they're developing a personality of their own. And sometimes those connections are a little challenging to maintain, but they're needed. So it's important that we have hands on experience with our children all through childhood, adolescence, while they're in our care. Because what troubles me is to hear, and I've heard it several times in my career, to hear of a parent of an adolescent, maybe, a child that's maybe 15, 16 years old or so, and the parent says, "Well, I've done what I can do. I've already parented." And I'm thinking, ma'am, sir, it's really kind of just beginning if you think about it. So I don't like to hear those statements. I know I'm old school, but I believe in hands-on parenting, until they kind of leave our nest, so to speak. And then you have to navigate parenting young adults, and that is always intriguing as well. But it takes on a different, look. And we're still parents. I'm still mommy of a 35-year-old, a 32-year-old. They would get me if they heard me saying this, and a 27-year-old. And so I feel that my husband, as the father, and myself as mommy, or they don't call me mommy, but as mom, that, we're still important in their lives and they are important in our lives. And I feel that that connection is strong because we put the time in when they were little folks.
Yes. Well, and then I know that you kind of alluded to this already, but the ABCs of parenting, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is really like what you do, what you teach. Can you walk us through the ABCs and what each one stands for and why that matters?
Yeah, yeah. So I developed the ABCs of parenting maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's so simplistic, but I feel it has a lot of meaning to it. So the ABCs of parenting is something I established to help, excuse me, to help people get through the rough times, through the stressful times of parenting. And so A stands for awareness. And just being aware that there are so many emotions that we as family members experience in everyday life, and being aware of what we're feeling and helping not only ourselves to navigate through those feelings, but more importantly, helping our children. So if we're regulated, if we feel good about ourselves, if we're more in touch with our feelings, we can help our children navigate through theirs. So A stands for awareness. B stands for breathing. I am a firm believer that a lot of times in stressful situations, intense situations, we really need to breathe through it all. And so I again, I stress breathing, the importance of deep breathing to sort of calm maybe the chaos, to really grab hold of what we're experiencing in that moment and just breathe through it. Very quickly, I had a client who I talked to last week, and she said, Dollnita, if I hadn't breathed through the situation between myself and my co-parent, I probably would be calling you from another place, not my home. And so I'll leave it at that. And so she said, no, using my skills and my strategies that I've given her helped her in that moment. So B is for breathing. C stands for care. Self care, that is. And so self care is huge. It's so important, especially, and I kind of qualify this after the pandemic. We are living totally different kinds of lives depending on our experiences during the pandemic. So now I feel that it is hugely important again to take care of ourselves, and I encourage parents to carve out, if it's not minutes, it could be hours, a day, but whatever it is, it means so much to our emotional well-being to know that we are worthy of that time. I don't care if it's just that much, whether it's taking an extra long shower, it could be taking a walk, it can be journaling, which I feel that's really, underestimated. Whatever that is that the parent finds that they can do for themselves, I advocate do it. Do it and say yes to yourself that you deserve it.
So simple. Like as you mentioned, it's the simple things, but also the framework. It's truly memorable. Like the ABCs of parenting, that's very catchy. It's something you can remember. Uh,
Mhm.
Awareness, breathing, self-care. Can you walk us through maybe an example of when a parent might reflect on or use the ABCs of parenting in like their daily life? Like when are some of these strategies most relevant?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just imagine, and some of what I, share with parents are actually experiences that I have gone through. So I totally remember. It's been a few years ago, but I remember, right? So I remember stressful situations, and I considered um being a school social worker. Some may disagree, but I thought that that was a decently stressful job, right? I had some stressful moments. And so leaving work and having to come home and balance it all out with home responsibilities, homework, fixing dinner, all of those things that comes with being a parent, a mom, just being able to kind of navigate through that and find what worked best for me, and now I'm in a position to that so that I can share that with others. And so, just imagine a businesswoman having, a lot of meetings and may experiencing a lot of stress on her job, in her career. Maybe it's high demanding, what have you, and having to come home and navigate through, let's say, challenges with her teenager, right? Or maybe marital issues. I deal a lot with, with people who are experiencing relationship issues, couples, and what have you. So all of that requires a plan and skills. And I truly live by that framework that when a person has a plan and have skills, they can get through anything. Nothing's impossible with a plan and skills. And so that is what I value as a coach, working with parents, working with women in particular. I value being able to share simple strategies and skills that's going to take you from point A to point B. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, these are things that we can practice, right? Like we're not expecting perfection in the ABCs of parenting.
right.
It's about building that sort of capacity for awareness, the capacity to recognize when you need to take a deep breath.
Most
And
definitely.
then also having those support systems that allow you that time for self-care. If there's a single parent household, that may not be as clear to you when you can actually take the extra 5 minutes in the shower or to step
Right,
away.
right.
Um, so I think that these are all great strategies. And as you mentioned, it's the plan plus the skills,
Yes.
and that kind of come through to fruition. So, you've worked with families navigating these intense schedules and this stress, whether that be in their couple dynamic or, external factors that are affecting their family. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see that families are facing today?
Yeah. So the biggest challenges I've seen, I actually wrote a book about. And my book is entitled De Stressing the Stressed Out Family. again, we are living in stressful times, and stress impacts how we live day to day in our families, how we function, our roles, the decisions we make, other relationships outside of our immediate family, all of it kind of intertwines. And so that's what I really focus on as well when I work with families, just being able to find those techniques that are going to be impactful so that you can get through those stressful times. And whether it's dealing with finances, marital issues, parenting problems, being able to find that balance between work and family, it's important. I really, again, come from the aspect that life is too short to be stressed the entire time. So let's find ways that we can de-stress. Let's find ways that we can, drop ourselves in the moment, understand what we're feeling, and if we need to de-escalate, if we need to de-stress, if we need to take a different perspective or see something from another person's perspective, let's do that so we can live life to its fullest and live in a way that we can be not only supportive to ourselves, but to the others in our families.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of those like first few steps, right? Or strategies that they could maybe take away today from the episode to actually start moving towards that direction of more better balance or reduce stress?
Yeah. So I would suggest doing a self-evaluation of how you handle your emotions. I I feel like that part is huge before you go into another step. And so really being aware of how we deal with everyday life. Are we really like walking like robots, just kind of getting through each day? Or are we taking time to really evaluate, am I okay? What can I do to kind of de stress? And so it starts with the inner work. It also starts with checking in with your other family members. I love suggesting to parents that why not hold a family meeting? Um, and even when you have younger children, they sort of are intrigued about, we're going to have a meeting. Oh my goodness, I get to participate. Wow, what am I going to say? So that aspect or that concept of family meetings sort of intrigues people, you know? It not only intrigues kids, but it intrigues parents as well. What are we going to discuss? Use that as a time of developing resilience, maybe hearing each other out, and really communication is a big part of that. It plays a big part. If family members feel that they're seen and heard, it really means a lot. And it can change the dynamics of a family before people even realize it. So inclusion, yeah, I'll put it like that, including everyone in a family meeting and really discussing, okay, what are we happy about? What are we challenged with? What could be some areas of improvement? So we could start there as well.
I love those strategies. I'm already envisioning just like the bringing of the family together and that, that excitement from the child's perspective of, oh, I get to be part of the meeting. I can see their like
Yes.
little faces just lighting up of
Yes.
I'm part of this something that's bigger than me, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Can I also, excuse me,
yeah.
can I also put in here that sometimes when parents are seeing or observing some things that they really want to change in regards to their children's reactions or their children's behaviors, it's really important that we don't necessarily zoom in that moment as like an eagle ready to, or a bird rather in regards to a bird just coming into attack. We want to use a nice de-stressed moment or a nice moment when, we're just kind of chilling, if you will, to have that kind of meeting. And then we can bring up some of the observations that we have as parents, or children can bring their observations up. And it's not in that tense moment. That's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah. Do you recommend that families maybe create that as part of like a routine so that it's like this safe time, consistent time throughout the week that they know that they can kind of come and, air their grievances, so to speak?
Yeah, most definitely. For us, it was Friday night. So we kind of, in my children were younger, we kind of incorporated a couple of things. We incorporated the family meeting, and then that was immediately followed by game night. And so
So
we typically would have pizza or something, one of their favorite foods, and we just did all 3 of those kinds of things in one setting. And it just really, it allowed us some, opportunity to kinda talk about some things that we felt needed to be adjusted, and then it also gave them opportunity to be included, and it was also followed by fun, whether it was playing a game or what have you. Sometimes we would allow them to make their games up and we would all play together. So it really accomplished several goals all in one evening.
I love that. And it can just be like that one step, right? Like when we talked about ABCs of parenting, it doesn't have to be one more thing, right? So, how can families start weaving the ABCs of parenting or maybe this kind of strategy of a family meeting without feeling like they're adding one more thing to their plate?
Yeah. So I one of my favorite sayings is that being a parent requires creativity.
Mm,
I honestly believe that. You gotta be a little creative, you gotta think ahead. Gotta throw in a little psychology in there, So those kinds of things that we want to include would really help. Because again, we already know what we want accomplished. We already know what is bothering us sometimes. And so being creative in how we present it, even in couples, in couple relationships, we have to be creative. If I start zooming in on what I feel that's, not going so well as soon as my husband hits the door, I probably can handle that a little differently. And so, again, our creative way of thinking, our approach, it's sometimes when we sit with ourselves and kind of think it through, and also being able to have some ideas of solutions to those things that we want to see um, maybe look a little differently. Having some ideas before we even get to the table, so to speak, helps a lot, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this. And another topic that we talked about in another episode of the podcast was this
Mhm,
idea of like shame. Like, if I try something with my family and it fails, does that mean that
mhm,
I'm a bad mom?
mhm,
And so, how do you encourage parents to trust themselves as they're trying these new things with their family, as they're kind of putting their hopes and dreams out there, maybe being a little vulnerable too with
mhm,
the interactions that they're having with their partner or their children or both, all of everybody that they're interacting
yeah,
with. How do you encourage parents to trust themselves when the parenting road feels a little uncertain at times?
yeah. So I stress a lot about I stress the area of confidence. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do is because I understand that sometimes we need a little bit more of confidence, whether it's parenting in our marriage relationships, what have you. And so building that self-confidence is a vital part of family life, of being a parent. Being a parent requires a lot of hard work and it requires a lot of heart. I can't make a heart
Mm,
too well. A heart work. Who
I
can't make a heart, right? So, yeah, so both of those components of parenting are hugely important. And if we're responding, if we're reacting a lot rather than responding, we just get caught up in this chaotic cycle. And so, what I recommend is people kind of slow down, assess where I am in this particular area of my life. How can I best serve my family without being totally stressed out all the time? Maybe I need to take a few moments, a few hours or so, get myself together so I can better serve as someone's mom, as someone's wife. Yeah. Yeah. So I really think that that's a huge part of that as well.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
yeah.
as we close out the conversation, we do have a special segment at Launch Family since we've created a parenting guide called Emmy. So
Mhm,
think of her as kind of your on call support system for
mhm.
navigating modern family life. Moms can actually ask her anything from emotional challenges to school routines. So before we go, I want to share a couple questions that moms have actually been asking and get your
Yeah,
take on some of these as someone who's been in the trenches and also that helps coach moms and parents through these kind of processes. So, the first question was I feel like my emotions get the best of me when parenting gets chaotic. How do I stay calm and model, I think is also the kind of key thing there, better emotional regulation.
I
So
love that
maybe
question.
ABC principle that could help in the moment or take it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, I love it, I love it. So, one suggestion that I have, one recommendation, is that we as parents convey to our children that we're on their side. And I feel like as I serve parents, I serve them from the capacity of coaching them through those rough moments. When a parent is able to convey, even in the most stressful time, if our child disappoints us, if they go against our instructions, they're just totally flat out disobedient, whatever the case may be, that we still, through discipline, correction, or what have you, that we still convey to them that I believe that you can do this. And whatever you're getting ready to face, whatever correction that, I throw in your lane, that you're able to maneuver, and I'm here to help you. Um, a lot of times, parents and children appear to be, like opposite. They continue. It's like they are enemies. They're not on the same team. Well, we are on the same team. That's why we're called a family. And in areas where I can assist you as a parent, and a lot of them, I'm going to. And I know that you can do this. As a mom, I'm giving you the skills. I'm giving you some tools. I'm giving you some recommendations. I need you to hear me and follow my instructions, and life will be okay. You'll get through this. Just breathe. Yeah.
I love that too. And you have like the words to also back it up as to why it's important and maybe even modeling like that breath work, right? Like the ABCs of parenting, like I'm sorry, hold on. I just need a deep breath. Take a deep breath before I
Yes.
respond. And that reassurance too from the family element. I think this also ties to the other question that we had come in.
Mhm.
So how do I keep my kids feeling connected as a family when we're all so busy? So,
Yeah.
any simple strategies? I know you mentioned family meeting, but anything else
Mhm.
that kind of comes to mind to support through that?
Yeah. So again, it's super duper easy to have that quality time, to connect, to take time, just to be with your children. It's super easy when they're young. As they get older, especially as they're developing, their habits in regards to not their habits, but their activities and all of that, as they become teenagers, it gets a little bit more challenging to say, "Hey, would you like to go to the mall?" And they're looking at you like, "No, not with you." So being creative again is key. How about I take you and your friend and we just kind of hang out in Carytown, for example, or what have you. You got to be creative. And then even though they may not, accept it in that moment, when you suggest that, "Hey, we're gonna do this," or, "We would like, for all of us to carve out some time on Saturday morning, and we just go hang out, wherever," then that's something you strongly encourage, and you're making it in a way or saying it in a way that they don't have wiggle room to get out of it. This is something that, we feel that's gonna be really fun and really important that we spend this quality time together. You're on your way, one day to college, and we're not gonna have this time. So we're suggesting that this Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Put it like that.
Love that. And it also like echoes that similar sentiment too of like, this is something valuable to me is that I'm seeking this connection with you. I want to spend this time with you. Which
Yes.
oftentimes too, as in the adolescent time period, there's more
Mhm.
like, nah, I don't want to spend time with my parents. I got friends,
Mhm.
right? But if it
Right.
is something that's valuable to the parents and they're reflecting this over to their kids, then that's also being spoken and that truth is being, carried out through that experience. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Dalnita, thank you so much for sharing your heart, wisdom, and practical tools with us today. The approach to balancing work, parenting, life, the ABCs
Mhm.
of parenting framework are all truly powerful reminders that even small intentional steps can also make a huge difference.
Yes.
If you've loved today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and check out Dalnita's work through Family Life Enhancement. And don't forget to explore her books, courses, coaching opportunities. We'll link everything in the show notes for you. Until next time, remember that parenting isn't about perfection. It's about being present, prepared, and passionate. We're here to walk this journey with you. Thank you so much again.